There was a cargo ship from the Netherlands. It got an SOS. Captain heard our cry for help and came to the island of Timor-Leste and rescued the women and children. So you can see the bombs going off. Well, before the Indonesians then came in and invaded. And I said, I reckon he's going to be my husband. Then Mark and I danced together and the whole world looked like they stopped and they were all staring at us. And 6 months after that, we were married. Approached by a local school who was playing with the idea of a new model for parenting Indigenous children. I am married to a man who has a platform, who has respect, who has a calling, who has this next stage of his life where he could become a role model and a father figure to a generation of First Nation boys and help them become men.
What's going on, guys? It's Andrea from Alfred's here, your one-stop shop for the best gifts, homewares and quality knives in Darwin. Alfred's is a proud sponsor of the NextGen North podcast. Sit back, relax and enjoy the show.
Anna West, thanks for joining us on the NextGen North podcast.
It's an honour. Thank you.
Now, you and I became first acquainted with each other last week. It was at a cafe in Prap during the markets. I was there with my two kids. I was sitting on my lap and I spotted you from across the cafe. You were on the other side getting your coffee. And I guess what struck me about you was your energy and your ability to sort of draw people in. It sort of felt like you were talking to the whole cafe at once. Like, you know, you were laughing and had this amazing energy. And as you were getting your coffee, I noticed that my two children were actually looking at you, like they had their eyes locked on you. And then to my amazement, you came down and sat next to us where your bag was in the chair next to us, and they were still sort of staring. And then you actually started interacting with my son, which is very cute. And then that sort of naturally, I think, went into like talking about family and your life and that sort of thing. And you know, you've been through a lot. And you've had quite a life from, you know, being a migrant from East Timor, coming here in the 70s, to meeting the love of your life, as you put it, who then went on to play AFL football, which sounds like an incredible journey, and then doing, I guess, what charitable sort of pursuits, raising young boys to becoming men, and a number of them. So I think it would be great if we could begin at the start from your journey to Australia and what that was like.
Sure. So we have a
video? Yep. Yeah, so, if that helps, yeah.
So what it is this year is the 50-year anniversary.
Right.
Because we arrived on the boat. And everyone's celebrating. There was a cargo ship from the Netherlands.
Is this the ship in question?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It got an SOS. Captain heard our cry for help and came to the island of Timor-Leste and rescued the women and children. So you can see the bombs going off.
Wow.
That I was 2 years old, my brother was 2 weeks old, and basically all the women of our family and the children got on that cargo ship.
And that smoke there is literally bombs going off. Wow.
The civil war before the Indonesians then came in and invaded.
Mm-hmm.
That was afterwards. So this is the boat. This is new footage we've just received. I received this week from my cousin who lives in Portugal through some archive in the UK. So it's pretty hot off the press for me.
Wow, okay.
I don't know who else has it.
Mm-hmm.
But soon what we'll see is my dad, who, God bless him, has passed away a year ago, but all the sisters, my dad's sisters, my mother's mother, my mother, her sister, and you'll see that's my dad's sisters, my aunties, my grandmother, my mother holding my brother, and my auntie holding me.
Wow. And
there you go.
That's unbelievable footage. So you arrived to Darwin. Was it Darwin you came to straight away?
The Port of Darwin, Cyclone Tracy had just hit. It was flat, and my mum arrived and said, "This is Australia," because there was nothing here.
Yeah.
It was like,
must have been a shock, like sort of fleeing one war-torn, you know, mess to another.
My brother was instantly taken to emergency. He was 2 weeks old and barely made it. And my mum said she didn't sleep. She was so stressed. It was quite an ordeal for everyone involved. And then people had choices as to go into other cities. And we stayed in Darwin because my dad's mother wasn't well. She was buried in Darwin
Mhm.
a little while after. So my father's brother, they don't like talking about it. We don't know a lot, but he was shot through all of this and they lost someone.
Before you left.
I'm not sure about the details,
Right.
but he was gone and he left a number of children, my cousins, who were
Right.
raised without their father here in Australia.
Yep.
So
So you had to sort of come together and
trauma.
form a family unit and then try and build a life in Darwin.
I remember, and I'm pretty sure it was a Wallagi Primary School. I was 5 years old, my first day at school. I only knew Portuguese. And then my first memory was I was in a circle and we each had to name a fruit and I started crying because I didn't know any.
Right.
I remember that. So that's the reality of it. I went to school not knowing any English. My first language was Portuguese.
Because the Portuguese link is obviously Timor-Leste used to be a Portuguese colony. Do you hold on to any of that Portuguese culture, or like how much of that did you bring across? Do you still speak Portuguese?
So recently, my mum and I went to Portugal. We just got back. We spent a month there in our holiday home in Lisbon. In our home, I got my Portuguese passport, dual citizenship. I basically caught up with all my family, my cousins. Mum and Dad had a choice when we arrived. And basically a lot of my dad's brothers and sisters went back to Portugal and started their new lives in that country where they knew the language. They were actually given jobs with their social status kept intact.
Yep.
My dad and my mom, they sacrificed. What I feel, my perspective is they sacrificed because my dad had a very high standing in the government when he arrived here because of his limited English. In other words, zero. He said to my mum, his wife, I think we stay because I believe this country will be better for the kids. And my dad spent the rest of his life working in the government at a laundromat, not really enjoying his work, but setting his children and grandchildren up.
Just doing what he had to do.
Doing what he had to do as a man so we can live the lives we're living now. My brother, I think there's a photo coming up of my mum and dad. There's a got to include everyone, otherwise I'll get those messages afterwards. Why didn't you put a photo of me up? So that's a photo of my mum and dad and me. That day was the wedding day. My dad walks me down the aisle and I was smiling because I was seeing all my best friends on the aisles.
Where did you get married?
That beautiful cathedral in the city just down the road.
Right. Lovely.
Yeah. So that was
what year was that?
So
sorry, I'm putting you on the spot here.
30 years ago or something. Was it 95?
Right. It looks like a 90s wedding.
And so, yeah, that's mum and dad. And dad made that decision.
Yep.
The next photo is of my brother. Now, my brother is a local incredible hero. Amando, love you. He started off, his first job was at the Woolies here in Nightcliff doing, the role of putting the trolleys away, and he's now just recently got his new role, his first time ever as CEO, Chief Executive Officer of a company in Australia called Harley and Harper. He's worked in Platypus Shoes. He's worked in a lot of companies. He's very successful. He's an incredible father, incredible brother, incredible son, and an incredible leader. And he's a local boy. He was here from 2 weeks on, played for Buffs, and he is incredibly successful. And so my dad made that decision. I've spent my whole life doing things that I'm very proud of and giving to the community. I didn't pursue corporate.
Sure.
But my brother did, and he's so successful. So he's successful in his field. I feel that I've helped many people in my field, which is more God, charity. But I believe that the day my dad passed away last year, we were in the hospital, just my mum, my dad, my brother and I. And I walked in and I looked at my father and I said, Dad, I'm happy. Thank you for everything. And when I said that, at that moment, he left.
Wow.
And basically, he's left a legacy.
Yeah.
Is it okay if I just read my first poem about my father? I wrote it after he passed away.
Can I just ask a question quickly?
Yeah, of course.
Do you think your dad made the right decision to stay in Australia?
A million percent.
Yeah.
I would not have wanted to raise my children anywhere other than this nation.
Okay.
This is an incredible nation. It's one of the best countries in the world. We have to put that out there.
Absolutely.
And thank you, whoever let us in on that boat. Thank you. I hope we did okay by you guys. So this is a a poem, all right? So obviously after being first and foremost a comedian that no one laughs at, I'm a poet. You could have laughed a bit more. Papa means father. So Papa, you probably don't know this, but you've made us so sad. You lived a life, an introvert in the background, always feeling hurt with the pain of being a man who felt a lot. But even though you still built so much, a home, children, all grown in their purpose, grandkids who get to live with super ease because you lived a life of sacrifice, willing to appease the systems of this world to build a legacy. Your grace gave us legs to run ahead of the lot. You gave us a lot. With that kind face, you didn't show us a lot, but we somehow always knew we meant a lot to you. Papa, we miss you a lot.
Lovely.
I really have been using poetry as a means to express myself. They say depression comes from a lack of expression. So I use my poetry as a way to express myself, and it has saved my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to say, hey, for all you young people watching this or parents, like, get your kids writing, get your kids expressing themselves, whatever that looks like, artistic expression, drawing, get them out there dancing, doing things, get them out of the bedrooms and on their phones, please. Save their life, you know?
Yep.
It's powerful.
Absolutely.
And it's accessible to all.
Yeah.
So just little.
I think that's a good lesson out there for all the parents. Speaking of parents, you're a parent. Tell us about your immediate family and, you know, how that all began, how that journey, meeting your partner, having children.
I was 21.
Yep.
And I was at my best friend's house, Leonie Copley. She's a local girl. And I looked at a photo of a team. It was like the Brisbane Lions, something like that. Anyway,
Right.
some footy team. And I saw this smiling face and I looked at it and I was just like, hey, Leonie, who's that? And she's like, oh, that's Mark West. You know, he's in Darwin, hey. He plays on the same side as your brother. And I was like, that face, that person's in Darwin. I haven't met him. What's going on? So it was funny because before Instagram, you know, we didn't have all of these things we have now. We cut the photo out, put it in my wallet. And I said, I reckon he's going to be my husband. From the very first moment. I hadn't met him yet.
So you're manifesting destiny.
Thank
by
you
the
for
sounds
using
of it.
those words. I didn't want to be the one to bring in the weirdness. So I definitely felt the inner, you know, the inner voice saying, this is your husband.
Right.
And I knew, and I told her father, I said, oh, guess what? That's my husband. And that was like during the week. And that weekend, I went out nightclubbing, saw my brother, and guess what? He was standing next to the
Wow.
man
No way.
who I'd put in the photo in my wallet like a stalker.
There you go.
And so I was like, this is my big chance. Walk straight up. Hey, I'm his sister. My brother insulted me.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, I know what you're trying to do. And I was looking at him like, you could have helped me out. Then Mark and I danced together and the whole world looked like they stopped and they were all staring at us. And 6 months after that, we were married.
Wow. Amazing.
He knew.
Where did you guys meet? What nightclub was it? Do you remember?
Upstairs somewhere in Darwin, I don't know, because all the names have changed
Okay.
30 years on.
Right. So mid-90s.
Do we think, well, we should encourage all the girls to go to that nightclub?
No, I just,
It's the place.
I mean, I met my wife at a nightclub as well. So yeah, so
That's what we used to do, hey, before we were all on
romance
Instagram.
is, yeah, that's right. Romance is still out there. So then, like, you know, you got married
and
6
then
months
shortly
later.
after he got drafted. Well, first of all, he went to the Adelaide. He went and played in a team in South Adelaide.
Yep.
And he, as someone who had already been delisted and was trying again,
Mm-hmm.
it was very challenging.
Right.
And it didn't look good.
Yep.
But for some reason that year, they were like, you know, we're looking for ready-made players.
Yeah, yeah.
He's
Because
like,
he was a mature body.
ready-made.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Not recruit.
Yep.
Ready-made.
Can we get a photo up of Mark if you don't mind?
There's one
He's in the
coming up
footy
somewhere.
Yeah, he's in the footy jumper for the Bulldogs.
Oh, glad we included that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great photo because his beautiful daughter, our youngest one, where there's a 10-year gap between the other two,
Yep.
little Navina, she's the only one in the family that sort of really pursued it. She's represented the Northern Territory. She
Mhm.
plays rugby and AFL. She was best on ground last week. And she's daddy's little girl and he's so proud of her because she's passionate about sport. And so, yeah, I met Mark and he got then drafted and we were so happy. I was working for an airline called Ansett, which a lot of young people
I
don't
remember
know.
Ansett. Yeah.
Thank you. Oh my God, I'm with
Tom
my
probably, our editor probably doesn't, but I remember.
You know what? One day Tom is going to be like, what? Because someone's going to say to Tom, I don't know what Instagram is.
Yeah. He's laughing.
And he'll be like, what? That's how I feel. What do you mean you don't know Ansett? It was like an airline. There's a lot of people watching who will know
Yeah.
Ansett.
But you can see she's a chip off the old block.
Oh my God, she's so passionate. And she's, because of the rugby, she's got a little bit of that
Yep.
aggro in her that
Yep.
from her father.
Yep.
Fearless,
Right.
beautiful, looks like a supermodel. She's going to take over the world. I'm her mother, so I have to say that. But Daddy's little girl, she just loves her dad. And he gives her, like, I'll be like, oh my God, you look so good doing it. And he's got like 15 points of how she can improve after every game.
So was there a culture shock going down to I guess Melbourne at the time?
Great question.
What was that
Darwin
like?
girl.
Yeah.
never been out,
Yeah.
Arrived in, everyone wants this man's autograph, stopping us. I enjoyed parts of it somewhat, being at the MCG and you get this card, and with that card you can walk into the change rooms and just wave and just go. And then you walk in and everyone's getting changed and stuff. And I didn't complain about those aspects of it. Hi! I'm up to him. It was fun times. We met a lot of incredible people. We were rubbing shoulders. We've got Terry Wallace and Chris Grant. We've got Danny Southern. We've got Stephen Cridiuk. We've got genuine, real, passionate, professional friends, characters. It was fun, and I learned a lot. And working at Tullamarine, getting to still transfer from Darwin to Melbourne and working at Melbourne Airport.
So you still managed to work for Ansett
for 5 years
down there? Oh, great!
And just so no one thinks I'm like this loser just grabbing onto this AFL footballer, While I was in Melbourne, I was nominated for Best Customer Service Representative in Australia for working for Malaysian Airlines, because they pay one of the companies in Australia to represent them at check-in.
Okay.
So I won. I was flown to Malaysia, to Kuala Lumpur, to receive the award with all of the other winners around the world, from Italy, from all these countries. So I was flying first class, and that was probably the highlight of my career. I was like, best customer service. So I couldn't believe I won it. I was like, who voted?
But what was the difference in, like, was there external pressures on yourself and Mark? Obviously he's
Mark
an AFL footballer and
injuries.
expected to, perform at the highest level, essentially.
Yeah, and I had to try and make salads and stuff.
Yeah, right. So you sort of had that balance to your life still. You found a normality in, like, a pretty.
I loved being a wife.
Yep.
I loved becoming a mother. I loved finding faith. There were pressures, and it was difficult, and there was a lot of expectations. So that did actually drive me to finding my faith in Melbourne and starting my journey of my spiritual journey with God. And so it was great. I found this group of women who were happy to pray for me and make me the center of their world for a time. And I learnt a lot. And I loved it so much.
Were you religious before this point, or
Catholic? A church. It was more about doing it because your parents tell you. My brother and I went to church every week our whole lives, and it's beautiful and it's wonderful. But then this was more about me finding my own path, not religion, not church attendance, relationship with the divine being.
Yeah,
there's a difference.
Okay, interesting. Well, I think we can talk a bit more about religion towards the end. I think it will probably fit a bit better. But how long did Mark's career at this point last in the AFL?
I think he pretty much played for around 5 years.
Yep.
Lewis, my firstborn son, who turned 27 this year, was born in that environment.
In Melbourne?
Yeah, I remember being at the hospital having given him birth to him. And I think it was the next day that Mark was playing against the Adelaide Crows in a semi-final. I'm pretty sure that was it. Sorry if I get that wrong. But I do remember that there were a lot of footballers coming in. I remember there was one young footballer who came to visit, and he said, I won't hold the baby because I dropped one once. And I was just like, can we just get him out of here? It was funny.
Yeah.
But there was a lot going on.
Men are funny around babies. Sometimes they just, like, the biggest, strongest men can be just so funny and awkward. And I know that from sort of having my own 2 children, is like how you just get a bit funny.
It's very cute.
Yeah, it is.
At least he knew his own inabilities.
Yeah, that's right.
And removed himself.
Yeah. So then how did Mark's career finish? Did he just decide to that was enough, or did he get delisted? Or what was
I
that?
think he was on his third shoulder reconstruction,
Oh God,
and it was terrible.
just too hard.
It was horrible. And then it was just basically, well, it's just not. And then what happened, we were like, well, what are we doing in Melbourne, We've now got a baby. I'm pregnant with my second. What are we doing? I want to be close to mum and dad. Let's go home.
Yep.
And it was like, yep, let's go
Okay.
home. So we came home.
And how did you find that life, particularly, I guess, Mark, after football? Like, it doesn't probably get talked about enough is how footballers can cope.
Do you want to go there?
I think we should,
Okay.
if you're happy to.
So when Mark got back, there was a lot of drinking, and he found, I think what it is, your identity is so meshed with your career. I am a footballer. Even to the point of like you've got a sheet in front of you, profession. You can't write football anymore. Well, who are you? And that happens with a lot of people when, it happened with me in the church. When I left the church, it was like, well, who am I if I'm not that leader? Identity married with your career, footballers, professional athletes, it's a given. You're going to get that downward spiral.
Yep.
It's a given.
Yeah.
Not easy.
Yep.
I'm pregnant, got a baby. We're back in Darwin. And then there was just this moment where it was highlighted in the local paper. Mark got done for drunk driving. And instead of just letting him be and going, he's going through enough, ex-AFL footballer.
Yeah, sure.
News.
Yep.
And Mark made a decision to self-discipline himself and not drink for a year.
Yep.
And just get back on track. All credit to him.
Wow.
So it was serious.
That isn't, yeah.
And that was just like, once he had done that, and that's when doors started opening, opportunities. And we were approached by a local school who was playing with the idea of a new model for parenting Indigenous children who were far from home, coming here for school. The St. John's model had been around a long time, where house parents come in, do an 8-hour shift, go back home. Marara Christian College we're experimenting with a new model where you are in a home, mother and father. You're with them all the time. There's no shift working. They live with you. So Mark and I were approached, and I really could sense that I am married to a man who has a platform, who has respect, who has a calling, who has this next stage of his life where he could become a role model and a father figure to a generation of First Nation boys and help them become men. And so I just went, even though I didn't want to, even though I was scared, I didn't know how to cook for 14 people. I had a 2-year-old and a baby. I just went, okay, God, if that's what you want us to do, I say yes, but I was terrified. And then we went on to, I think there's a photo there of us with 2 kids and then underneath with 12 kids. It was overnight. And no one is ever prepared for anything like that. Not that one.
No, a bit more.
That's all right. Not that one. It's a bit further up, down a little bit, coming up.
They mustn't have gone through.
That's a bit sad.
We
missed that one.
We'll get Tom.
That's all right. But that's an important photo. I don't know how we missed that one. But we can go to the one with the other one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 5. Yep, that one. Go to that one. A bit. Yep, go to that one. So the top photo. That one? No, one down. That one, yeah. So that top photo is basically the photo of basically probably the first month where we took on the children. So you have me, Mark, Lewis is around what? 3 and
yeah.
And there's little Alicia, and we've got like basically you get given 10 children. And this photo is beautiful because 20 years later, we've got a photo there of Darren, who's a musician who's travelled the world with his band B2M. And we got a photo together, and he was one of our initial boys. He was like 12 years old, and now he's 30-something. He has his own children, and his actual brother is a DJ here, Dum Dum. First of all, I refused to call him Dum Dum. I didn't like that, but he's such a beautiful young man. He recently gave me a Mother's Day present. I think it was last year. And he said these words to me. He said, Anna, you did nothing but love us. You deserve this and a lot more. And I cried because being a mother of over 40 First Nation men, it's not the most rewarding thing.
Right.
You're not given, it's very sacrificial.
Sure.
So that little token gift meant the world to me.
Yeah.
And,
I'm just trying to find the word. It's like anyway. But yeah, I think sacrificial, right? So that's the photo.
Mark thinking that they're doing great with two
Yep.
kids, and next minute we've got these 12 children, and we're like, what do we do?
Yeah. What now?
I mean, the picture is self-explanatory.
Mhm.
How are you going to do that?
Yeah.
How are you going to manage the fights, the doctor's appointments, the
Mm.
teacher's appointments, the parenting conversations with their parents who are back in the community worrying about their children? What are you going to do? You know, there's a funny story I want to say.
Please.
So a few years down the track, my little daughter, Alicia, Mark and I were sleeping and we were exhausted. Sometimes on the weekends you're just tired, and there was a knock on the door. And so we were living like we had upstairs and downstairs. So there's a little bit of separation, the style of the housing. Some of the boys came up. They knocked on the door and they're like, hey, can we get some bread? And I heard my little daughter went, we gave you bread yesterday. And Mark and I, stop, no, we give them bread every day. So you can imagine even like, but it's interesting because to this day, my son Lewis will turn around and go, you know, Mum, you gave us the best upbringing. I have 40 brothers.
Mm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy to share your parents, but he looks at all the benefits, the rewards, basically walks around Darwin and, yeah, don't touch my son.
Yeah.
You know, I'll walk around and I'll be out or whatever, and people will be like, you got these people looking at you going like that. I go, yeah, that's my son's checking on me. And it's like, oh, who does she think she is? She's walking around the city like she owns the place. Like, how would you walk if you knew you had 40 sons? If you're walking and you know you have 40 sons, how do you think you're going to walk?
Stand a foot taller, don't you? So did Mark sort of identify that the lack of maybe strong role models in his life, or like how did he sort of
this role on so passionately? I remember him turning around and saying, don't worry, Anna, you look after our two and I got this.
Right.
Mark loves cooking.
Mhm.
He didn't have to try to find culturally music that was relevant. It was just what he played anyway.
Right.
He is Indigenous.
Mhm.
He
Yeah.
didn't have to try to be Indigenous.
Yeah.
It's like put the right people in the role.
Yeah.
And he loved it. And they loved him. To this day, he's catching up with boys all the time. Barbecues, this, that. Mark loves cooking.
Yeah.
So even recently, I don't know, a few months ago, there was a wedding. And there was 150 people. And Mark was camp cook. He cooked for the whole wedding.
Amazing.
So, you know, I taught him a couple of the Portuguese dishes.
Yeah.
You know, leadership's about being replaced.
Mm-hmm. And so what was the motivation there? Like, was it just wanting to give back, or, you know?
What an honor.
Mm-hmm.
How much fun. Driving a bus, laughing, playing music, telling stories, playing footy, raising your kids where you can be home with them every day rather than have to go to work.
Mm-hmm.
What an honor, what an opportunity, what joy, what legacy. 20 years later, you look back and you go, what would you rather have done with your time?
Yeah.
I can't think of anything I'd rather have done.
And how did you cope with all of that financially? Because I don't know if you were being, I guess, remunerated by what it was, Marara School, was it?
So
Christian?
everyone can say like, oh, it's never enough and never enough. And we had a lot of people who were inspired by our way of doing things that then started doing it. So because of Mark and I, when we started, before we started, it was attracting very much people who were like retired at that end of they've raised their kids. Why not?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, 20-year-olds are doing the role and they have kids.
Yep.
And at first everyone went, it'll never work. We made it work to a point. Other people then, it started to, you know, inspire and attract other young people in their 20s with their kids and stuff. And then, you know, it's 20 years of progression where maybe 6 years down the track or 7 people would be coming and going, we're not earning enough, we can't pay our bills.
Yeah.
And they turned around and like, let's adapt. How about one of you is allowed to go and get a full-time job and the other one has to be accountable and present all the time? So there were adjustments made to keep good people in the roles.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're going to lose them. But so yeah, it was totally fine. Marara Christian College had funding.
Yep.
And they made it work. And we got given these homes. The homes weren't in Cullen Bay.
Would have been nice.
They were, you know, I'm not going to say too much. They weren't ideal, but you make it work.
Well, the reason why I ask is because I don't know what your financial situation was. Obviously, Mark had played in the AFL, and I don't know if the salaries, were what they are today.
Mm.
But I guess the financial component, while people say, like money's, not important, it matters, to be able to put food on the table and make sure kids have clothes and school books and that sort of stuff.
You mentioned the word manifestation. I think that, if you genuinely have a desire to do anything in this world and it's pure-hearted and you really have that pure motive, I believe that the universe does everything it can to support you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that faith or fear, we can look at all the obstacles in that, but anyone who genuinely wants to help people,
Mm-hmm.
you will make that work.
Yep.
People left this role because they said they weren't having enough time with their kids. Mark and I had to reassess at those times because we're like, are we doing the right thing here? Are our kids missing out? We used to have these conversations, but because we felt God called us, if he calls us, if he asks us, he'll support us, he'll grace us. And 20 years on, I can say that my children look and go, Mum, you did the right thing.
Yeah.
And thank you for giving us this.
But I guess, on this podcast, we sort of, we're looking for pragmatic solutions to problems. And I don't know, is there like something throughout that period that could have helped you guys more, whether it was like more government, say, assistance, or whatever?
If you're a family in Darwin right now,
yeah,
and you have a heart to make a difference and you want to be a part of the solution and not a part of the problem, and you don't want to keep just talking about all the things that are not happening, but be a part of the solution. Like I always say to people, you might not take in 10, but how about just looking into taking in 1?
Yeah.
Giving someone an option, which is a family home, rather than being in an accommodation with, shift work. What have you got to lose by trying? We've only had positive impact. It's only had a positive impact on our lives.
Yeah.
We took in 10.
Yeah.
Things to start the conversation. Government's ready to help whatever works. The government doesn't sincerely, I don't think, want to put 10-year-olds in jail.
No.
First Nation young people. I don't think that's their heart. They're doing that as we don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
But let's start conversations like what you're doing, Stuart. And I condemn you. I
commend.
Yeah.
No, I understand.
And honor you for it. Basically saying, hey, let's just even just sharing a story of something that worked.
Yes.
Something that's had an incredible impact.
Mm-hmm.
Something people don't even know, like this works. Mm-hmm. I bumped into one of our boys a few months ago at the airport hotel and Novotel. He was there doing a conference because he's a ranger. And he said to me, Anna, I look back on those years with you guys, best years of my life, I really miss it. And I'm like, that's all I hear.
Yeah.
It works. It's amazing. And so instead of this situation right now, which is very like, it's not proactive, it's reactive.
Mm-hmm.
And it's short term, but we can't, as adults in a society like Australia, which has so much resource, so many great thinkers, so many good-hearted people, stay and pause and stay in this situation right now where we're like, our solution to keep everyone safe is to put under 14-year-old boys and girls, predominantly First Nation kids who have gone through trauma their whole life, in jail. Here we are.
Mm.
Well done. No, that is not okay.
Yep.
We don't stay here. So that's why these conversations are important, because we're like, there's hope.
Mm.
Look at this. This worked. So even if this conversation just opens up the possibility of people starting to have conversations again and saying, you know what, we don't know the solution, but we're open to start having conversations. I think it's a win.
I agree. And what are the sort of lasting impacts you think that what you guys have done has had on your boys? Are they at an age now where they're starting to have children of their own? Like, what are they being? Of course,
most of our boys have all got children.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think they're amazing.
So then they can be strong, positive role models for their kids, and it has like a generational.
There is some, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Especially having continued access to Mark. Let's go camping together. Let's go fishing together. We have a group of boys and they catch up. Mm-hmm. Some of them started to work with Mark as apprentices.
Yeah.
They stay, like
And they're kids you say that were a long way from home, is that right? So were they from
So
community?
what it is most communities that get to a certain age, there's no longer schooling in that community. They have to come to the closest, Catherine, Alice, Darwin. So all of our boys were community kids who did not have access in their community and had to come to Darwin.
Mhm.
So their only option was like these institutions that were like, boarding colleges.
Mhm.
And then until our school got really courageous and said, how about we put them in a family?
Yeah.
And it was tough and it was complicated and laws and this and that. And I don't know who thought of it, but they must have been on some kind of like hope cloud
Sure.
to think it could work.
Yeah.
But look.
Yeah.
Somehow it all came together, and it's not perfect. And I'm sure there's some stories out there of it not being good. And I know a lot of house parents got burnt out, including I came to the end of myself.
Absolutely.
Which led to what we're going to discuss later, a suicide attempt.
Yeah.
When I just came to a point where I was like, I don't have any more to give. The thing with mothers is when you're on a plane, they say, put the mask on yourself first and then your kids. And none of us do that. We look after everyone first as mothers. And at the end, we're like, I have nothing left. Don't let it get to that point.
Yeah.
Don't, because then who are you going to help? And you're actually, as a mother, no good to anybody if you let it get to that. And I have a lot of things to share about that, keys, the reasons why I'm full of joy, confident, happy, having survived electric shock treatment, being drugged for 3 years against my will, going through depression, not speaking to anyone for 3 years, going through the darkest of times of my life to resurrect, holding for dear life my faith and my relationship with God, to now be the woman I am today, who my son says, apparently some friends asked him, how's your mom going these days? And he said, well, she's the happiest person I know, so she's doing okay. How do you go from all of that, reach rock bottom, to become a woman who you described so eloquently and so poetically and beautifully? She walks in the cafe and it's like she changes atmospheres. So there's a lot of keys there, mental health, people who are suicidal, people who are depressed, people who are sad. Like, I just want to stand here or sit, whatever I'm doing, and say, I just want to say, there is hope.
And what gave you hope? If you could
I'm just trying to think, have we got ahead of ourselves? What are the photos
No,
doing?
it's okay.
Are we okay?
Yeah.
Look at this.
So if
I wanted to just go backwards a little bit and just discuss that during my time as a house parent, I was in a local church. I was on the leadership team. So there's a photo of me at a school there. You'll see it. Yeah, there's a school. So basically, during my time as a house parent, I remember I felt God say to me, I want you to take on board this opportunity to go into the schools. And my pastor of my church at the time was just like, we think you're perfect. And I'm like, what part of I've got 12 kids at home to feed did you miss? And I was like, there's no way. I don't have the capacity to now run a program in schools.
Yep.
And God spoke to me very strongly and gave me a sign, which I couldn't deny. So I said yes. So I started going into schools, and for 15 years I volunteered in the local schools. I went to Sanderson, I went to Palmerston, I went to Grey. My first ever going into schools to do this 8-week program where we taught the young girls about having worth, building strength, and that they're here for a purpose.
Yep.
And it was predominantly written in Redfern by a social worker for Indigenous girls, but it has then gone through the whole world,
right,
everywhere.
Yep.
So in Darwin, I ran it, probably the longest volunteer. I like consistency, but yeah. So the first time we ever ran the program, we were at Grey Primary. About 2 weeks in, one of the girls came up to me and they said, "Anna, we have something we want to share with you." They were 12, and I was like, "Of course." And they said, "Oh, we feel like we want to tell you that there's a local." There's a grandfather, one of the girls' grandfather has a pony club. And when we went over there, he did this to us. He forced us to do this, and he did that, and he did this. And I went, okay. Thank God that day the constable was visiting the school. And so what it is these young girls had this secret about this inappropriate behavior from this grandfather, was forcing them to perform sexual acts on him, taking photos and putting it online. And they weren't allowed to say anything because they were terrified that there would be repercussions, because he said that he would hurt the families. They were terrified. And then I came along, and for some reason, thank God, they felt safe. And they gave this,
Yeah.
and the man was put in prison. But just to remind everyone out there that, these people in prison right now who are 12 years old, but what is their history?
Mm.
What have they gone through?
Mm-hmm.
Why are they there?
Mm.
Can we do better?
Yes.
Can we do better? Or do we just live our lives and protect our own kids, and as long as our kids are okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because Mother Teresa was known to say to the world, every child is everybody's child. These fences, they're not real. They're in your imagination. You think you can keep your kids safe from everyone else? We're all living in the same society. It's bigger than that. And so I went in, and I didn't let the excuse of I've got 12 kids to feed and I'm at capacity stop me. And I'm glad I did. And I pushed myself and I increased my capacity because my heart, I can't just sit there and let these kids go through this and not have anyone fight for them.
Yeah.
No one. These girls had no one until I came along. And they were like, maybe we can trust her. Maybe she can help us. They trusted me and it was dealt with. But what if I had said no?
Mm.
And I was a volunteer. I didn't earn money. Who cares? Social justice. Making every crooked path straight. There are wrongs that need to be made right. He needed to be put in a position to stop doing that. So I was in the schools, and there's another one that there's a young girl. So what happened was she was at Palmerston.
Yeah.
That one. So she was at Palmerston, and we have a look here. I was 14 years old when the counsellor at my high school announced that the school would be hosting a Shine program. It was for girls only, and we were going to be talking about, we used makeup and stuff as tools because it kept them interested.
Yep.
It was run by a lady named Anna, and she was amazing. I loved everything about Shine. It was a sanctuary from my chaotic life, family life. She goes on to say that at home I was called bitch, slut. She was being sexually assaulted by her stepfather. And Anna taught us that we were special and had a purpose in our life. And we spent time creating a theme board. So I met her years and years later. She had been looking for me, but the schools wouldn't give her my details.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually at a conference in Sydney for women, 15,000 women. I was about to run a session, share, and she came up and said, are you the woman from Darwin who used to was married to a footballer? I'm like, it's me.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, this is my story. And I gave her the mic and said, tell them.
Wow.
And we've been friends ever since. She went camping with my daughter.
Yeah.
She's a part of our family. And we met her. I met her when she was 12 years old through this program. That's just one of the stories, obviously.
Yeah, sure.
I've got many girls. I've got one Indigenous girl now who's reached out to me and said she's running it as well. She recreated it and is running it. I think she works for Centrelink. Lots going on.
Yeah, wow. That looks like a very interesting photo, the next one.
Right. 2018.
Yep.
I had a mental breakdown. I had a lot of financial debt.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like you said, it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
We had like an economic meltdown, housing crisis, this, that, and the other. And, we had some serious debt. I was disillusioned with my local church. I was finding this whole thing of giving. And I started to look at it and just go, it's like these man-made structures, religious organizations, yes, they're amazing. I learned the Bible. I studied the Bible for 25 years. I met incredible people.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I felt this current of control. And I just was like feeling so this and that. And I felt like I was in a marriage where there was a lot of pressure. There wasn't a lot of watering. I felt very empty. And then some things happened in the church, which got me into a space of shame and condemnation. And I went under very quickly.
Okay.
And I started losing sleep. I was insomniac, like I had a nervous breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
They said that just before my attempted suicide, that I was saying, things like, the soldiers are coming, and the doctor said, we feel that you had to East Timor, you had
PTSD.
You had a moment because you had been losing sleep, you weren't eating well, you'd lost weight. And so it was an environment to be able to have you have that. And I truly believe the army were coming. I was so petrified and worried, and I had so many problems. I had bills sitting there for $15,000 that I wasn't opening. I thought I was going to prison. Everything came compounded down.
And they call that generational trauma too, don't they? Like where it's kind of passed down.
Who would have thought years and years later it could have still have affected me given the right environment,
Mm-hmm.
which was an environment of I remember thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do? My daughter, she's so young. My daughter, my youngest. I know my other two will be fine.
Mm.
They have the DNA. They get it. They know who we are. But my daughter, she's so young. And I was just like, I remember going up to my cousin and saying, please look after her.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, what's going on? And then one day when I was scared and I was feeling like I had this traumatic stress thing, thinking that the war, and it was like back to the bombings, I guess, because that's what the doctors later said, that I had a moment. I, in that moment of fear, took some sleeping pills that had been described. Instead of one, I took, I think, 12.
Right.
And it was at that moment that I came out a bit wobbly and realized I don't want to die. And so I reached out to my son and I looked at him. I said, Louis, he goes, Mum, what have you done? And he looked at the bottles and he went, oh, Mum. He got me in the car and he later told me, because I don't remember anything. He said, Mum, I rang up the ambulance. Mum's not breathing. What do I do? And they're like, we're on their way. And so for some reason, that smart thinking of that young man saved my life. Mm-hmm. And I remember talking to a very wise Indigenous woman just a few years ago. And she said, it looks like you gave birth to your own savior. I liked how she poetically put it.
Yeah.
And one of the most difficult things that kept me depressed and down, apart from being electrocuted against my will, taken to court to have that procedure 8 times, petrified, vulnerable, alone, worrying that I won't remember my kids' names after the procedure, and then to have it another time and another time, that going through that, being drugged with such strong drugs. I needed to maybe go to Bali for a week or 2 and have a few hugs.
Yep.
But that's not what they had on offer for a woman who had given her whole life to a community and was burnt out.
Right.
It wasn't an offer. But
how did you work through that? Was it your son?
It was
or was it family?
It was difficult. My son did that initial.
Yep.
I did write a poem.
Yep.
The poet. I did write a poem later on to thank my son. So 2018, I took the pills. Mm-hmm. For 3 years, I never spoke to anyone and I was totally not available to anybody. It was very real. Mm-hmm. And then as I was coming out of it, I got online and I used Instagram as a tool to express myself and I started growing. Mm-hmm. I also made the decision, I hope no one puts me in hospital for saying this, but without anyone realizing and knowing, I secretly stopped taking the pills from one day to the other and I never took another pill. Haven't even had a Panadol. That was in 2021. We're in 25 for 4 years. So I just made that decision. I said, do you want to live or die? I had to hide it from everybody because they would have institutionalized me or forced it down my throat. So I secretly pretended I was still taking them. Mm-hmm. And I said, I want to live and not die. Mm-hmm. And once I started stopping those pills, my brain started working again. I was no longer a zombie. And that was my, Anna, you got to live. Mm-hmm. And one of the most difficult things I faced was forgiving myself for that whole thing of, you are a mother. How could you? How could you? Mm. That echoed for years. I couldn't forgive myself. The moment I said, live, you're going to live.
Mm. But I think
you have to forgive yourself. Once I forgave myself
yes.
and I made the decision to live, then I got out of it.
I think forgive is the operative
number
word.
one.
Yeah. You have to forgive yourself.
First and foremost. Yep. And some people are still there in their lives right now, sitting there. Mm-hmm. They can't forgive themselves for that moment in their life. And they're on a pause. Mm-hmm. You can't go forward. And I always look at people when I meet them and I think, if they can be kind to themselves, if they can be like, yeah, but I was going on a journey, I had some stresses and that, the kinder they are to themselves that I perceive, the kinder they can be to others. So when people are very unkind and very judgmental and very harsh on themselves, I try not to be around those people too much because eventually they're going to project that onto me. That is just reality. Yeah. That's just the way it is. So the poem I wrote for my son, Lewis West, there's a photo of him, I think, my little Louis. He's so handsome, my boy. Yeah, there it is. This, Darwin, is my son, Lewis West, who is just absolutely a hero, who saved his mother's life from his quick thinking, who's never judged me, who's never let go of me, who came to Bali this year and we met there and took me for Mother's Day in Bali and celebrated me and has loved me every day of my life. My Louis. So I wrote a poem called Famous Warrior to help with the healing process, Stewie. Mm-hmm. Stewie?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep. Minute, Stu.
Oh, good.
Hey, you want to eat stew? Now. I thank the dark years. Now I'm experiencing the light. It shines so bright. It glows and flows from morning till night. It spills into the alleys, and like a valley, it nurtures the passerbyers with poetry that delights. Oh, the night. I wanted to partner with you and take flight, leave this world without a hope in sight. But then, my famous warrior, there you were, my knight, shining with armor so adoring, I leaned into your arms and I took respite. Now, forever, I can shine this light, so bright to honor your heart full of might. You were so damned on that day, but look at you now, my hero. So bright you shine, my knight, my everything. You saved my life. Famous warrior, my son, in whom I delight. Love you, Louis. Proud of you.
Powerful. I think that's a good point to wrap this podcast up, if that's okay with you. At the end of each pod, we like to give, a minute or two or however long you'd like just to promote something that you've got going on in your life. So if you just want to stare down the barrel of that camera.
Hi.
Tell the people what you've got going on.
I did write a little bit here. I would love to produce. I've got 160 poems that I've been writing on my healing journey since 2021. And I would love someone to come and passionately and excitedly produce a poetry book with me. Maybe there's a printing firm in Darwin, something like that, but to come alongside and go, hey, let's do this to get this message of hope out there. So a poetry book is on the cards. I have inside of me an aura curriculum. Obviously, I did 15 years with the Shine program, but I feel like there's an updated version inside of me that I'd like to produce, write, and get back into the schools, get into the correctional facilities, and give a new generation of young women the hope that we've experienced in the past. And I'd love to run that, and I'd love support with that project. And obviously, I would just like opportunities like what you've given me today, thank you, to share the message, whatever vehicle is available to get that message. I did have the opportunity to speak at the International Women's Day for the Australian Red Cross, and it was quite impactful, quite a few tears. So any opportunity just to get this message out to say, doesn't matter what's happened to you, your mindset right now, however dark it is, you've got kids, you've got abuse, you've got alcohol-related incidences in your everything's going on for you. You don't feel there's hope. I just want to say to you, I've been through all of it, name it, and I've gone through it. I'm standing here today as a 51-year-old woman on the other side of it. And because of my faith and because of my relationship with God and because of some things I put in place, first and foremost, forgiving myself, walking in, facing the fears of isolation, the fears of death, the fears of people's opinions of yourself, facing these fears, combating these fears, standing up and saying, I will live and not die, and giving my kids the best gift a mother could ever give any child, which is taking responsibility for your own personal happiness. For my son to be able to say, my mum is the happiest person I know, that's how I know everything I've gone through was worth it. To be on the other side now, to be standing here as a woman, confident, joyful, changing atmospheres in cafes, meeting people like Stuart, living in the best city in the world, enjoying life. I just want to say to you, no matter what you're going through, please don't give up. Reach out for help. There is hope.
Sage advice. If you can help Anna or want to get involved with what Anna's doing, reach out to the podcast and we'll put you guys in touch. Anna West, really appreciate you coming on the podcast and wish you all the best with everything in the future.
Thank you. It's been such an honor. You're amazing.
Thanks. Like and subscribe, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Bye.